Of course, belt buckles are an important part of your wardrobe. They can also be very beautiful. And leather-covered belt buckles can be even more beautiful and much more, especially if you are the person making them. They can be personalized, they can be made for awards, and they can be an expression of your leather art. The possibilities are endless. The base for any leather-covered buckle is this steel buckle blank that I have here. This is an oval. It's also available with a rectangular shape, and both of them have on the back a hook and a ring. So what we need to do first is design a cutting pattern to fit our. Please note I have drawn a grid on here, line on the middle going both ways, and now we'll trace around the belt buckle. Notice that I've located it exactly in the center. And now we need to determine how big the leather should be. We got to consider, number one, about 1/8 of an inch away to be our stitch line. And then another line we will need to make another 1/8 inch away, and that will be our outer border. So now we can take our pencil and sketch around about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the buckle. If need be, you can use a ruler to aid you in getting the proper distance from the edge. And now you can see the outer perimeter, which will be the outer edge of our pattern to make our buckle front. Next, we'll design the lining piece. We'll place the buckle back in, and we need to make a slot so that the ring can come through. And we'll also need to make a hole for the hook to come through. Now, if you have a soft surface and underneath, or you can put something down there, lay the buckle on there and press on it and rock it a little bit. This will give you an impression, so you'll know where to put the hole for the hook. So you just mark that with your pencil. And now we need to determine where to locate the slot for the ring. This is pretty easy to do. We just take our ruler and measure the distance between the hook and the area where the ring will come through. And this is 1.5 inches. So now we just go to our pattern, make a mark at 1.5 inches. This will be the location for the opening for the hook, or for the ring. So now we draw a parallel line, and this will be the center of the opening for the ring. Now we just need to measure the width of the place where the holder for the ring is, and that's 1.5 inches. So now we can put a mark on our line, 3/4 of an inch on either side. And that will be the width of the slot to allow the ring to come through. Now with a stencil knife or shears, we can cut out the outer perimeter of our pattern. Next, we will use a 1/4 inch round drive punch, and we'll punch 3 holes. 1 for the hook and 2 for the slots. We cut them right on the marks we made before. Now we'll take a ruler and a stencil knife, and we cut out the cardboard between the 2 holes, being very careful to stay right on the edge of the holes. and then we can just lift out the piece and our pattern is ready. We're now ready to cut leather. I'm going to cut this out of a 4 to 5 ounce vegetable tanned leather, and I just carefully trace around the outer perimeter of our pattern. Now we can cut out the pattern with either a shears or a stencil knife. I prefer a stencil knife. Next we will cut our lining piece. I'm using a piece of 1.5 to 2 ounce vegetable tan leather. Calfskin works fine, or any lightweight cowhide. We will of course turn it over and we'll put our pattern on there. Now we can leave this cut oversized and just take a pen, and since we're drawing it on the back, an ink pen is fine, and we mark the slot and the hole. Now we will use our same 1/4 inch round drive punch, and we'll punch the two ends for the slot, and then we will also punch the hole for the hook. And now we will use a ruler and our stencil knife to cut out this slot just like we did on the cardboard for the pattern. And our pieces are now ready for assembly. After you have completed all your tooling, dyeing, and finishing, it's time to start the assembly. The assembly process starts with your finished buckle front, of course a steel buckle blank, and a lining piece. We will begin by using the permanent contact cement, and I will put a liberal coat of it on the back of our outside part, and I will also put a liberal coat on the front of the metal buckle blank. We will now make sure that we have this thing right side up, and we will put the buckle on the back while it's still wet so that we can move it around. Now we want to get it exactly centered on the outside piece. Now we will let this sit until the cement gets tacky on both the buckle blank and the outside leather. While we're waiting for the cement to dry on our blank and the outside piece, we can dampen with the sponge the lining piece. Now we want to dampen it on the grain side only. We want to keep the back side relatively dry, but we do need to dampen it quite a bit on the grain side surface. And now we will take our contact cement and we will apply contact cement to this piece. And now we can set this piece aside to dry until it gets tacky. The cement has dried, and now we can form it, as you see me doing here, over the curvature of the buckle blank. And now we can apply cement to the back side of the buckle blank, and also another application to the edge of the leather. And now we will set this aside until it sets up and gets tacky. Our cement is now tacky on both surfaces, so we can carefully slip the slot over the ring and then line up and get your hook through the hole. And now we can press these down and bring the front on around, as you see me doing here. Now we can flip it over and use either a bone folder or a modeling tool and press your leather down inside the buckle blank. You can also use a modeler for this. Now we also want to press down the edge so that we get a good tight bond between the front and the lining. Notice as I come around, I'm allowing the buckle to tilt up so I get a good solid base to press the two pieces of leather together. And now we're ready to trim. You can trim with either a shears or a knife. Most cases I prefer a shears because this is a rather thin leather that we've used for the lining. So you just trim your lining flush with the edge of the front piece. I'm now ready to punch holes for my stitching or lacing. Notice I have one of the small punching boards here, and now I will punch all the way through, staying right on my guideline that I put on there earlier. I'm using a 3/32 punch, so I can either lace this now with 3/32 lace or I can stitch it. As you can see, I have stitched around this one. Now I will finish this edge just like I would finish a belt, and then I will edge bevel it, both the front side and the back side. I'm going to take some very fine grit wet dry paper and smooth this edge real nice. If there's any cement that's squeezed out on there, we'll get rid of that. And then we will dampen it with water, slick it with our edge slicker. And after slicking, you can apply the edge finish of your choice.